Hello, and welcome back to Hard Hats and Headspace. I'm going to run through what we've discussed during, I'm going to call season one. So we're going to run through that. I hope you enjoy my recap, and I look forward to seeing you again in the new year once you've listened to this last podcast of 2025. Enjoy. Yes, as I said in the intro, we're going to go through each episode this year, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about what got me into doing this. And I didn't really know what to expect at the beginning of starting a podcast. I'd been on some other people's podcasts, enjoyed it. I just thought it was a different way of getting your message out and supporting people and shining a light on all sorts of things to do with mental health. But I also thought, do you know what? I've got quite a mixed bag of network of people I've worked with over the years and people I come across with every day at work. Amazing and inspiring and wonderful people that I've worked with. I couldn't have picked a better two to start with. And some of you may have watched the 1 hour 47 minutes video episode of me, Johnny, and Matt, especially those that love Johnny and Matt themselves directly. But fundamentally, what it was about was shining a light on the people that do the job every day and are doing the job every day now, or every night in their case. They work at night shifts in Heathrow. And the feedback from that to me directly ranged from, this is interesting information from Johnny and Matt and what they're trying to do and the impact they're trying to have on people working every night. Not just at Heathrow or for Mace or in construction even, but the toll that working when you're supposed to be sleeping naturally has on your life. So that was really interesting, and I love what they're doing. I support them wholeheartedly with What About You? And anyone who's seen the video versions of these podcasts will see their logo flash up. And I make no apologies for that. I think anything I can do to support them a little bit in their mission is incredible. So well done, boys. And thanks. And you will be back. They'll be back early in next year. We met Osei Akalele, who I'd met at a CIOB event last year, over a year ago. And he was an inspiring young person, but was inspired by me, which I also always find a bit strange to hear because, working class lad from North Wales, not great at blowing my own trumpet. So I'm getting better at it. And a lot of this has been down to the people I've met and the people I work with day in, day out, and getting the respect due for what we've done. And working with him was good. And then we talked about sobriety a lot this year. Both Lauren Rimmer and Nick O'Shea were both guests on the podcast and kind of helped me question what I was doing and my attitude towards drink, which I resolved that was okay, actually. Been worse in the past, but I saw a lot come out of what they had to say about drugs and alcohol in construction. And I think, to be honest, in society is probably the right thing to say. It was interesting what we learned from Lauren and Nick about recognizing the signs, getting help, regular occurrence, that, isn't it? Those words come up a lot in everything we've done across the course of this year. We talked about mental health. We had the issues that come from drugs and alcohol dependency and the mental health issues that come with that. Some recurring themes across our podcasts this year, and no less than when we talked to Tom Chapman. So we have gone towards the issues that face us every day at work. We have discussed some hard-hitting topics, whether it was Steve Walsh as well, my lifelong friend, Steve. My own podcast on my own, talking about mental health, my mental health, which is in a great place. And that's despite some difficult times at the moment right now, which is going on in our private life, which I'll cover probably at some point in the future. But needless to say, we're in a good place because we're getting help. We're getting great support And the people I work with, people I work for, my friends and family, and my wife's friend and family are being amazing to her. World of work stuff, talking to people like Steve Walsh again, and how he's progressed in his career was good. And going from being an apprentice, which we covered with Ray Higgins from Phoenix ME, that was an interesting discussion back in episode 11. And it was the first time Ray had ever done anything like that. So not saying he was rabbit in headlights, but it might have been a bit of a deer at first. But I thought he relaxed into it. We talked about something that's very prominent for me and our family, which is cancer. We tackled cancer. We tackled breast cancer for my wife and the issues she's faced with that. And also prostate cancer. We had Elvin Boxing, who is just enigmatic, fantastic, wonderful person. If you ever get the opportunity to hear Elvin speak or put him in front of your workforce, will be the best few quid you've spent on your mid-year comms, your summer comms, your sessions when you want to talk about mental health and the effects that having cancer or someone you know having cancer goes through. I highly recommend getting him on board, as much as I do with Steve Kirby as well. I know his wasn't about cancer, but it's definitely about, he's a mental health speaker. And those two are people that I've met doing what they do talking, but and presenting and raising awareness and getting you down to the doctors and getting that help and talking to people. They were brilliant, and I was a bit blown away that both of them agreed to come on the podcast again. That was me and my imposter syndrome as was, but not anymore. We're getting there. Wonderful Dr. Nancy Doyle came onto the podcast and talked with me about neurodiversity, inclusion, about making the workplace a better place to be. There's a lot of work to do in this field, in acceptance, in helping people feel like they can be themselves in the workplace. And she is brilliant at this stuff, and so is her business. And the world of neurodiversity, inclusion, equality is taking a battering in the last year and a bit since a certain election on the other side of the pond over the Atlantic. And that's wrong. And I think we should stand up and we should be championing inclusion and allowing people to just be their best. Paul Stevenson on, who works for Genius Within. Paul was on, talking about his Tourette's. I loved that. I loved the fact that he felt comfortable and confident to come onto this podcast and talk. And that's because he's worked for people that have made him feel confident and accepted, as I do. I think Paul is brilliant. His photography work is incredible. His real skill, his artistic work is second to none. Brilliant stuff. But his bravery, and it is bravery and leadership to stand up and speak up for people who are neurodiverse, ADHD, but most importantly, his advocacy for people with Tourette's like himself. It's incredible. And I was so proud of him. I am so proud of him to call him a mate as well. He starred as himself in the critically acclaimed film I Swear later this year. So I can actually say I've had a movie star on the show. But yeah, Paul's work is incredible, and you should look him up, and you should think about having him as part of your business, as Genius Within as well, and make no apologies for bigging them up and trying to persuade anyone who listens to this to look at getting some neurodiversity training and inclusion into your business. And they're the best. I am biased, but that's only because I think they're good. If I didn't, I wouldn't promote it. So they were good. They were good to have on the show. I'm going to say that two most inspiring podcasts I did this year. One I was part of the team for, which was Movember. And we had the wonderful Mark Johnson, on the call. Colin Pitcher, whose story is incredible, about how he found out he had prostate cancer and how remarkably quickly he got treatment and is back at work and is inspiring us all to do and be our best in the workplace. And halfway through that podcast, we were joined by Thomas Masterson, who ended up coining the phrase, which became the title for that podcast, "You don't have to love them to care." And I think that was brilliant. And that kind of sums some of the people I know up. I think they are incredible people that I've met and I know, and I feel privileged to have them as part of my network. Need for health to match safety in its budget. When we talked about that affects everything I've just discussed, and we looked at it really well in real depth with Jenny Armstrong of Construction Health and Wellbeing. Jenny is brilliant. I work with Jenny Armstrong well at work, but also by listening to her podcast, which I'll be a guest on at some point. She's got great ideas, but you know what? Her heart's coming from the right place and her brains are incredible. So putting those two things together is going to be next level inspiration for our sector. So please look out Jenny as well when you get a chance. So over the coming year, we will have some more guests in 2026, but I just wanted to say thanks first and foremost for you and anyone who listens to this podcast over the course of the year. To every single one of those people that came on the podcast this year, to Sarah Rhodes for creating the most viral piece of footage from my lot, which was the clip where she asked me if I was a biscuit, what would you be? And brilliant. That was brilliant. I love that. And maybe we'll stick that in again later. But all of the guests this year have been brilliant, and I feel blessed to have them agree to come and sit with me and talk for an hour. Kate Marchant as well. Next year, big year in industrial relations, which is my specialist field. Labour government has been in at this point, December 2025, just over a year. Differing views on how well they have or haven't done. Other people can make their own. I have mine. But next year, the Employment Rights Bill, it's going to be huge for all sectors, not just construction, not just main contractors or subcontractors or labour providers, all across our sector. Just going to be one to watch, and it'll be one thing that we get into the bones of with different guests across 2026. So I'm going to have a break over Christmas. I wish you all a very Merry Christmas. Early in January, I'm going to be appearing in pantomime. Oh, yes, I am. And I will be hopefully getting some of that gang on for the short podcast at some point, if they'll agree. Watch this space. And then we'll have my colleagues in from Mace, Cross Construction, and whoever else, and some different people. We're not just going to stick to construction. I've got the enigmatic Danny Mack, who owns Mack's Farm in Ditchling. That's going to be an interesting conversation for you to hear, and very different, very, very different. But we'll spot some trends. Another friend of mine, Philippa Groom, is going to be part of the podcast, going to come and join me on here. Her story is incredible. So looking forward to talking to those two friends and many, many more. So all the best. Thank you for listening in 2025. I didn't know what to expect at the beginning. I've got to the end, blown away by people telling me that they listened to it that I didn't expect at all levels and all parts of the sector. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I wish you nothing but wealth, health, and happiness in 2026. Enjoy your time off whenever you finish, if you do. All the best. Signing off, Stu.
If you could be a biscuit, what biscuit would you be and why?
Well, right, being a massive Peter Kay fan, it'd be wrong of me not to say an hobnob. dip me again, right? Because you just don't break into the tea. Like, the constitution of a hobnob, it should just dissolve because it's just oats and bits and somehow it sticks together. But, you stick a rich tea in, gone in it, oh, it's too hot.
Yeah.
Right, hobnob, in and out. That would
It's a
be me. You can just
reliable
keep
biscuit.
dipping me. Yeah, you can dip me again, and they'll come out, and they'll still be there together, no matter how much shit you put into me.
Love that.